We'll call the city council meeting to order for September 3rd. Roll call.
Mayor Reese,
Here.
Councilmember Osk,
Here.
Davis, here, Schultes,
Here.
Baggerly,
Here.
Osmus, here, Butterfield,
Here.
and O'Brien.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson is excused.
Please stand for the pledge. Did I cut you off, Renee?
Yeah, it's okay. I was just going to say that there's 8 present, 1 absent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Proposed additions or deletions?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Osk,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Baggerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
and O'Brien.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. I have a proclamation here for welcoming week of 2024. Whereas our community's success depends on making sure that all residents feel welcome here. Today, new residents are a vital part of our community, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas, starting businesses, and contributing to the vibrant diversity that we all value. And whereas this week, we honor the spirit of unity that is bringing neighbors together across the city of Willmar. During welcoming week, I invite all residents of Willmar to join this movement of communities nationwide by renewing our commitment to our core American values by taking action in the spirit of welcoming. By working together, we can achieve greater prosperity and make our community the kind of place where diverse people from around the world feel valued and want to put down roots. And whereas, regardless of where we are born or what we look like, we are residents united in our efforts to build a stronger community. By recognizing the contributions that we all make to create a vibrant culture and growing economy, we make our community more prosperous and more inclusive to all who call it home. And whereas, let us come together to build communities where every resident has the opportunity to contribute at his or her best. Let us come together to create more prosperous communities and to reaffirm that Minnesota still stands as a beacon of freedom and opportunity. Now, therefore, I, Doug Reese, the mayor of Willmar, do hereby proclaim September 14th, 2024, Willmar Welcoming Week Day. I call upon the people of Minnesota to join to build stronger communities across Minnesota. Dated this 3rd day of September 2024. Pablo, did you want to say something about welcoming week?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The city of Willmar, in connecting efforts with downtown Willmar, we are hosting our 5th annual Welcoming Week event on Saturday, September 14th of this year from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. in downtown Willmar. And it happens to be right in front of City Hall. You all are invited. This year, Welcoming Week is a call to come together as individuals and groups to celebrate our strengths and differences and recognize that we are at our best when we are all in. Welcoming Week is a journey to build a community that is all in on valuing diverse perspectives, backgrounds, experiences, and cultures. This is a free event for all community members to learn about and to celebrate our diverse population and to create a sense of belonging for all. I'm happy to be joined this evening by members of our welcoming committee. I think about a third of the committee is here. So Cha, representing the Quran community, Naomi, representing the Latino community. Rally, do you represent? Yes, a rally representing the Caucasian community, and Abdi Fatah, the East African community. They have been working hard on preparing this event. They are here as a testimony of their work and also to extend the invitation to you all to be part of this event on Saturday the 14th. If there is any questions, I will.
What time does it start?
It starts at 2.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Any questions for Pablo? Looking forward to it, Pablo. All right, we'll move on to call on Vernee Larson, City Clerk, for the consent items.
Mayor Reese, members of the council, today I have for your approval the City Council minutes of August 19th, 2024, the Municipal Utilities Commission meeting minutes of August 26th, 24, Swanson Field Memorandum of Understanding, consideration accepting Southwest Initiative Foundation grant, Knights of Columbus lawful gambling application, the Candy Ojai County Pheasants Forever lawful gambling application, the Glacial Ridge Curling lawful gambling application, Church of St. Mary's lawful gambling application, and the accounts payable report from 8/15 of 24 through 8/28 of 24.
Okay, council,
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
okay, we got a motion and a second to approve as is. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
and Osk.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. We don't have anybody signed up for the open forum, so we'll move on to regular business. And that's proposed budget for 2025 and setting the preliminary property tax levy. As mayor, I say good evening to the council and the residents of Willmar. The Willmar City Charter requires that the mayor submit the annual budget for the upcoming fiscal year to the council, and this submission must include any proposed financial policy changes and the reasons for these changes, a summary of the city's debt position, and any other information requested by the council. Tonight, I will review the preliminary 2025 budget, which aligns with the city's mission statement of providing responsible municipal services in an open, effective, and efficient manner to all residents while upholding Willmar's community values. Willmar's city budget is comprised of various funds. The general fund, which funds day-to-day operations of the city, special revenue funds, which such as the industrial park, the airport, the community investment, and public works reserve, all fund very specific projects or areas of debt. Debt in the form of service funds, which are funds used to pay for bond obligations, specifically street projects, local option sales tax projects, and most recently an equipment certificate. The wastewater department is the only enterprise fund under the city's umbrella since the city established a public utilities commission to provide public power and water services and uses rates to fund day-to-day operations, debt service obligations, and capital improvements. Tonight's focus is on the general fund and the tax levy. The budgeting process starts at the staff level where departments' financial needs and objectives for the upcoming fiscal year are identified. This includes operating budget requests and capital improvement plans. City staff have worked throughout the past months to establish a balanced budget. The 2025 preliminary general budget presented tonight increases the city's operating expenses by 3.08%. Reasons for the slight increase include union contracts and market rate adjustments for 109 staff members that provide high-quality service to maintain our beautiful city, respond within a moment's notice to protect and serve, and to envision a welcoming Willmar for all to grow and prosper. Additionally, the 10-year equipment certificate expense of $253,156 for the purchase of a ladder truck, a grader, and a dump truck, and $450,000 cash identified to fund capital investment projects. As discussed in a previous meeting, the city has $2.5 million of capital improvement requests. Last year, I spoke about the past practice of using reserves to fund capital improvement projects. That is no longer an option. The city has spent down its reserves. I also spoke about the need to slowly and strategically introduce these dollars into the general levy. This budget does just that. Last year, the general levy included $350,000 and a transfer from the Community Investment Fund of $752 and $752,250 to fund the city's capital improvement program, or CIP. This year's budget includes $450,000 in the general fund to fund community improvement programs projects. This cash is necessary to guarantee funding for various capital improvement projects, including those that will receive state and federal funding of $1.9 million. Council, if you want additional capital improvement projects to be funded from the general fund, you will have to increase the levy tonight. Once the option is passed, the 2025 levy or general fund budget can only be decreased. The tax levy is the second portion of tonight's discussion. It is the tax dollars collected to fund the general fund, our day-to-day operations, city hall reserve, and street improvement debt. This year's preliminary tax levy is an increase of 9.3%, or an estimated total tax dollar increase of $947,606. That will distribute the general fund, city hall reserve, and street improvement debt. Tonight, I ask the council to continue funding the city hall reserve so that we do not fall into past practices of not planning for the future projects. We started planning for a city hall. Let's continue that plan. After the 2025 tax collection, the city will have levied approximately $2.1 million for this future project. This is a good start, but let's not drop the ball on this necessary investment for our community. The street debt levy is a required obligation that we agreed to when the council passed the 2022-2024 street bond improvements. In the past 3 years, Willmar residents have seen 11.28 miles of street improvements, 7 parking lot improvements, and nearly 2 miles of trail improvements, resulting in a yearly average investment of $11.3 million. In comparison, the average investment in 2021 for streets, parking lot, and trails was $3.1 million. To help level off the future debt service tax levy, staff recommended to the council during the 10-year capital improvement session to consider a $5 million debt for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. The council will continue that discussion later this fall after the street improvement feasibility study is received. Tonight, I'm presenting a balanced budget with a 3.08% increase in the general fund and a proposed tax levy increase of 9.3%. The 2025 tax levy increase of 9.3% is to cover the major expenses of the general fund. the equipment certificate expense of $253,156, which is for a fire truck, a grader, and a dump truck. $450,000 for capital improvements. Continued funding for future city hall debt service of $587,000 and street debt of $1,134,982. Council, we need to stay the course by continuing to invest in our streets, plan for a new city hall, and invest in facilities, equipment, and our staff. The 2025 tax levy increase of 9.3% has an estimated impact of $44.66 or $3.72 a month for the median home value of $180,200. It is too costly for the council to do nothing. At this time, I call on Finance Director Tom Odens to present the 2025 budget in detail. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So tonight is the preliminary 2025 tax levy and budget. So the overview of tonight's meeting will receive the mayor's 2025 budget and will set the preliminary tax levy for 2025. And just to remind you all, here's an abbreviated budget calendar that was set by the council earlier this year. As I just mentioned, we'll hear the mayor's proposed budget tonight, and then we'll also must certify the tax levy to the county by the end of the month. So if we don't come to a conclusion tonight, we do have time to certify our preliminary proposed budget. From now through November, council will compile all the final recommendations and will continue to work internally as well as with the council to refine the budget. As of now, December 2 will be the truth and taxation hearing, and this is where we'll certify the levy for 2025. And then the end of the year is the last day to certify the tax levy to Candiota County. So the tax levy is really made up of three main pieces. The main piece would be our general operating tax levy. 85% of the general is made up of that. We also have 10% of our levy goes towards street debt and then 5% to city hall. So let's look at the general fund for a minute here, the 85%. How are the general fund taxes allocated? So this is just an illustration of where our general fund dollars are allocated. As I pointed out in the past, roughly 2/3 of the general fund expenses are employee wages, pension, and insurance. This just shows the spending by category. So this is not by department. This is just by all the different categories of spending. This next slide is a little bit more on the department side. So we just saw the categories. This visual aid shows by the department. So public safety would be 38 cents out of every dollar goes towards public safety. And this primarily would include our police and fire departments. General government would be 24 cents of every dollar. This would be including, but not limited to, mayor, council, administration, and other departments, primarily at City Hall, as far as departments go. The 22 cents out of every dollar go towards public works transportation. This is public works, engineering, and stormwater for the most part. And then 16 cents goes towards culture and recreation. That would include Parks and Rec, Community Center, Rec Event Center, Civic Center, and the pool. The next little piece of the pie here would be the City Hall debt levy. So starting in 2022, the city has allocated 3% of the tax rate for a future City Hall. So 3%. So since it's based off of the tax rate, as our tax base or our capacity increases of the city, as the city grows, this levy would also grow. That's best shown by this illustration here. So starting in 2022, we levied $485,000, and then proposed for 2025 would be $587,000. So the rate is still the same. This just shows an illustration of how Willmar has grown over the last few years. And that could include new building, new investment, as well as just the real estate market increasing in town. The third piece of the pie that we highlighted is our street debt or street improvements. Also, beginning in 2022, the city began to levy for the street improvement projects as they started doing more projects. So this just is the amount of money, the $1.134 million is the amount of money required for our bonds to make those debt service payments. So this last chart just shows the trend from 2022 all the way to 2025, and this number can't really change because these are obligations that we've already bonded for. So those are the payments that we have to levy for next year for those payments. So breaking down the $1.134 million is this figure right here. Goes each bond issuance 2022, 2023, and 2024, just breaks down the costs and to total the $1.134 million. As I mentioned earlier with the City Hall, the tax base or the tax capacity has grown. So this chart shows from 2019 through an estimate of 2025. The vertical bars is the tax base, for lack of a better term. So you'll see that bar has steadily increased. And as I mentioned, that is from both new construction and investments in Willmar, as well as the real estate market. The line on top would be the tax rate that the city has levied. You'll see when it gets steep towards 2022, and the reason for that is, once again, the city beginning to levy for a future city hall as well as levy for our street projects or our bonds. So here's everything compiled together in comparison to last year. The $581,000 does on the general fund. The difference of the general fund, $581,000, that would include things as Mr. Mayor has spoke about previously, the equipment certificate, as well as salary changes in the general fund. The street debt, we added on $334,310, and that is just the addition of the 2024A bond, the street improvement portion. The City Hall went from $555,000 to $587,000, increase of $32,000. That is just illustrating the growth from last year to this year. So adding all those three numbers together would equate the $947,606 increase, and that would result in a levy increase of 9.3%. So what does this look like as a residential example? Per the Candido County Assessor's Office, the mean residential home value in Willmar is $180,200. So if we applied last year, 2024's tax rate to that home, they would owe $980.50, the city portion of their tax. That same house with a 2025, if we certified today's levy, would be $1,025.18, would be an increase of $44.68 per year, or roughly $372 a month. The far right column adds in another variable. The median increase in change in value from 24 to 25 is about 7.7%. So that would be the difference. It'd be $1,104.25. And that concludes the presentation tonight. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Questions, Council? No questions? Looking for a motion to receive the proposed budget and adopt a resolution.
I do want to just interject one thing here. I want to double check that the resolution dollar amount is correct at $11,132,914. I think that the resolution in there has a mistake in the levy amount. And then the truth and taxation hearing will be on December 2nd.
What'd you say for the
11,132,914.
And did you change the date on the truth and taxation hearing?
I think the resolution is incorrect. So the correct Monday is December 2nd.
Yes, Justin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Oden's currently for the 2024 fiscal year projecting surplus deficit.
We're tracking pretty close. We're roughly 2/3 of the way done with the year, and I spot checked a few. We're pretty close. Some of the expenses that we do see are outliers. You know, we have one-time big payments or receipts, but I'd say for the most part, things are tracking pretty good.
So it's
I wouldn't say foresee a big surplus by any means, but we're pretty close to schedule.
Just put it on the table. I'll make a motion to receive the mayor's 2025 proposed budget and adopt a resolution to set the preliminary levy for property tax it's payable in 2025 and to set the truth and taxation hearing for December 2nd, 2024 on or after 6:30 p.m.
We got a motion. How about a second?
Second.
We got a second. Discussion. Julie?
Okay, so on the slideshow, it had to be to the county on September 30th. But it looks like we have a meeting on September 30th where I think we'll do some more cutting and refining. Does that change anything? Are we going to turn that in the next day then, or what?
So the preliminary levy would be what would go out on the truth and taxation statements that will come out in the fall. If we were to do any cutting or any changes that would come from that meeting would go towards the December 2nd meeting would be for the adopted levy. So then the statements that are sent out in the fall then would change if the council were to change anything on the budget. They can only go down,
Right.
not go up.
Is that common to have to send out a revision?
It's not a revision.
Just the final.
It's just the final.
Okay.
Yep.
We set the final in December.
So last year,
If we cut things, then they'll be happy to get the final. Usually, I would think. Okay.
just to remind the council, last year between the preliminary and the adopted was roughly $389,000 different below what the preliminary was.
Anybody else discussion? Justin?
So setting the preliminary and then adjusting before we get to December 2nd seems to has been presented by the staff as like kind of like this is a normal thing, this is advisable. Is part of that, as Councilmember Osmus just stated, is part of that psychological that citizens will see, oh, here's the high number, oh look, they cut it back, now I feel good that they raised my taxes, but only by a slighter amount. Like, what's it? Is that part of this? Is that
Thank you for your question. That isn't the goal of us. There are a few unknowns. Big one is our health insurance premiums haven't come in yet, so we can't budget for that. So we don't want to put out a final number until we have all the data, and we're not scheduled to get that. I don't believe until the end of this month, correct, September. So right now we have our best guesses in there, but we just want to make sure we get all of our next year's figures in there. I think there are a couple other state aids that we don't know dollar amounts yet for. Once again, our best guess estimates. Okay. So we'll continue to refine as we get more information.
so if further state aid came in income wise, that doesn't really affect the levy, correct?
Can you say that again?
If further aid came in from the state that would add to our income, that wouldn't necessarily affect the tax levy as like a need to increase it.
Correct.
Lowering it.
It very well could lower it.
Right. So that would be one possible change. I guess what I'm ultimately trying to get at is I don't understand the principle of go ahead and pass the higher number, even though it seemed like there was a consensus agreement the last time we gathered to talk about the budget that we don't want it that high. Why are we still passing the higher number tonight that we're unlikely to agree on in December? Why don't we cut that now and then spend our time figuring out where we're going to cut from rather than not and skipping that conversation about are we going to cut? Because again, I'm only one up here, but my read of the conversation that we had in our work session is that we're all uncomfortable with the current amount.
And I guess that'd be council's, if that's the direction council would like to see us go, we could go there. Once again, we just want to make sure we have all the best data for council to make the best decision we can. Sure.
It's not necessarily a question for you, but maybe a question for across the board. Yeah.
Julie?
When you say that we'll know the health insurance premiums by the end of the month, are we good? So we're hoping that we have it by September 30th?
We don't need to have it by September 30th, and I would suggest not to even think you have it by September 30th. And I would, as I guess I explained at the budget work session last week, we are recommending that the council approve this preliminary budget at this level, because from September now until November 30th, there can be some changes that we don't know about besides the health insurance. There may be other factors that come into play, and it's just always best to have that cushion before because are you saying that you want to set the preliminary budget at what you're going to pass on December 2nd? Because my recommendation would not be to do that. My recommendation would to set the preliminary budget at this, and then that allows council time to look very closely at other things within that budget. You've only had one look at the budget. You've only had one look at the capital improvement plan. But this is what we're recommending to pass for the preliminary budget. And right now where this stands, this only increases the tax rate a little over 2%, if I'm not mistaken, and not even to where we were recommending the tax rate to be at last year's preliminary budget. We're actually below last year's preliminary budget rate.
Tom?
I would also like to see the department heads come in on the 30th with their ideas where we could help reduce the city budget. They know a little bit more about exactly what they need versus what they want or need on their budget than for us council to go, well, we gotta take this off, we gotta take that off, we gotta take this off. Let's put some of the burden on to the department heads where they can go back and say, okay, I can go without this year. I can go out with this year. Let the department heads battle it out instead of all of us city council trying to figure out what it is. For me, I'd like to see streets go up. That's one of my biggest concerns, and it's one of the biggest things I hear about. I'd like to see our street projects go up, but we can't afford it right now with what we have in this budget. But the department heads would come in with a number they could reduce it by a little bit. It would help the council out here instead of picking and choosing which ones we're going to eliminate.
Our city administrator and the financial director, Tom, and operations director, Kyle Box, have received wishes, wants, needs from department heads. And that's what they've been going through since early May. So I think those requests have been heard and have resulted in this proposed budget. Julie?
At our work session, there was a small discrepancy in a couple of line items that got put in the wrong area. Do we have the corrections on those? And does that make any difference in the numbers we were looking at?
So they have not been, it was not reflected in tonight's information, but they will be next time you see any of the data of those, a couple small line items that we spoke about. Yeah. So
They don't make that much of a difference in the debts or in the preliminary to reduce the percentages. I believe that at last week's budget meeting, we said we would have to reduce the budget by 195,000 at least to reduce it by 1 percentage point. And the cumulative of some of those changes were not even $100,000.
Carl?
I think, excuse me, part of the thing with tonight is too, this sets the ceiling, right? It can't go up anymore. So by doing this, it says, okay, here we are. Now let's work our way back and do what we can do. So I guess that's kind of how I'm looking at it tonight is we're setting the ceiling so it can't go up any higher. And now we can take our time to look at reducing.
Vicky?
Isn't this how we do it every year?
Yes.
Where we set, okay, I thought so, but everybody was talking like it was something different.
No,
Okay,
no, it's the way we've done it
I thought so.
forever. Julie?
And I understand that we need that push. There are some unforeseen things that could come up, and then we'll be prepared for that. But if there are none, I think the departments should be aware that there's going to be some cuts.
Justin?
And I think that's where I'm coming from as well. Like, I don't want to send anyone, the wrong message that I'm not serious about seeing this cut 480K. Was that the number you gave us again about that? Before we pass this, in which case, I guess I'm coming, I understand this is how we do it every year. This 480K is like a real big cushion for health insurance and maybe something else that comes up. And so I guess my question is more about is the final number too high for too much cushion tonight? That's what I'm wondering.
Okay,
Go ahead, Leslie.
I would like to.
I just want to make a statement to the council that this is not a quote unquote cushion built into the preliminary levy. This is as seen as the information that we as staff right now have for our best guess for 2025 on some particular light items such as health insurance. So we are not identifying this as a cushion by no means. This is our best guess to what 2025's budgeted items will be. And once those final numbers come in through the next couple of months, we will be able to work back and refine those numbers to a final budget number in December. So I just want to make that very clear. That is, we're not building in any cushions. This is just our best guess with a budget at tonight's meeting.
And I would also like to add to that right now, there's $450,000 cash for capital improvements. We're not spending over 1 point some million like we did last year. If we don't have that 450,000, there's no capital improvements. And then you lose $1.9 million that we have right now that's coming in for state and federal funding. So there is a loss part to this also. So I just want to remind you that it's just not, unless council is going to use capital investment fund for capital improvements, which was something we talked about last year that we didn't like doing, was to use $700 and some thousand from the capital investment fund with $350,000 of cash. This year, we're proposing nothing out of that capital investment fund because we need to start getting that capital investment fund raised up, and that's part of our reserves. So that's why we were only planning on $450,000. And that's not going to leave much for anybody in any department for replacement of doors, a vehicle, certainly, a snow plow that we that's been put off since 2017. That's the large piece of equipment that gets put on the front end loader. So we've got things that have been put off, but we're trying to minimize spending a large amount of cash and reserves.
CIP, like I said in my statement, this year's budget includes that 450,000. And our city administrator just repeated it, that if we don't do that, we're going to lose the 1.9 million. I think that's Unacceptable. What I mean by unacceptable, unacceptable. Cut it. Well, we have a motion. You ready to vote?
Yep.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Oss,
Aye.
and Davis.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Thank you, Council. Next is authorizing the purchase of a hazardous materials decontamination system for the fire department. Frank? Good evening, Frank.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you is a resolution authorizing purchase of a new hazardous materials decontamination system. This was approved prior in the 2024 capital improvement budget by using ARPA dollars, the American Plan Rescue Act funding from, I believe, like 2021, 22, whatever. We did receive one quote from the only company that actually makes this system for $24,418.96. Currently, our decontamination system with our hazardous materials response team has been in place for well over 20 years and is pieced together. Patched, holes are patched, and it's just time to move forward. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Julie?
Okay, so if we use the ARPA funds for this, is there anything else remaining?
From the ARPA
Yep.
funds? That I don't know. That would be, I believe there is. I believe there's,
Do you know, Tom?
but nothing for the fire department.
Yes, there are more ARPA funds to allocate, and those must be allocated by the end of this year. And we'll be speaking about those at upcoming work sessions.
Okay,
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to purchase the hazardous materials decontamination system from Air Shelters USA LLC for the Willmar Fire Department as approved in the 2024 CIP budget in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Rick?
Is there any value to the trailer we have? Just
Obviously, it's not a trailer. It's like a tarp and some showers and stuff. And no, not really.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien, Oss,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
and Schultes.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Frank, you can go to the next one, the rescue struts.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you, I'm asking permission or authorization to purchase a set of rescue struts. Once again, this was also approved in the 2024 capital improvement budget using money from the public safety funds that we received from the state of Minnesota. That would complete that fund, I believe. We did receive 2 quotes on the rescue struts. One is from Alex Air Apparatus and one from Curtis Tools. Alex Air Apparatus came in as the low for $6,800. We would be using a little over $5,000 from the public safety funds, with the remaining amount plus shipping coming out of the fire department operations budget.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the rescue struts. Discussion. Julie?
I know we've had this discussion before on equipment like this to see whether or not it's a duplication with the rescue squad. And I know in those discussions, it's been like, well, what if the rescue squad is tied up? They're out on a different accident and theirs aren't available. So I always go back to how many do they have? How necessary is it that the fire department has them, or are we duplicating?
I think we're duplicating in a good way. The rescue squad, I believe, has 2 sets of this style. These are not heavy duty ones. These are for strictly for like one vehicle, normal car or trench rescue, something like that. But we go back to if the rescue squad is not available because they're somewhere else and we need a set, or we need additional sets for a major incident. That's what we're looking at. Not necessarily duplicating, but just supplementing is what we're looking for.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Julie?
I just feel like if it was that catastrophic that we needed 3 sets, that we would have other fire departments and other rescue squads. And I just don't know if it's a necessity or is it nice to have if we needed it. I don't know.
You know,
I know.
plan for the worst.
If it was my family, I'd want you to have them. I know.
Rick?
Can you explain again? It's a cost share with the state, isn't it?
That's correct. Yes, they're paying for 5,000 of it, and we're paying for the rest out of our budget.
Where does civil defense, where do they get their funds from? Is it the county?
I believe from the county, yes, strictly from the county.
Thank you. If the 5,000 did go for this, would that go for something else though?
Certainly, yeah, it could, yeah.
I mean, it's just public safety funds that could go for all kinds of needs, not necessarily just these.
Yeah.
Would it go to us though?
Yes, it's dedicated to the city of Willmar Public Safety.
And any more discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Childers,
Aye.
and Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you.
That passes. Thank you, Frank. Next is a request to set a public hearing for Waterview Senior Housing vacation of drainage and utility easements. Christopher Corbett.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, today I'll be looking for a motion to set a public hearing for the vacation of utility easements on the 3 sites. The sites that we're talking about is the Waterview Senior Housing site. It is just east of 9th Street or east of Walmart. Let me try and pull this up for us. Usually I have a PowerPoint, but typically this is undeveloped land, as you all know. Trident Development is building a senior housing facility on lot number 1, number 2, and combining partially or the northern part of lot 7 to create a total of 5 acres or so. Currently, the easements are along the borders of the property, and so with undeveloped land, you're going to see utility easements. I think these are at 6 feet around the property as well as each parcel. Bear with me just a second, and I will have this up. Okay, so this is the first parcel. We're gonna name this block 1. Block 2 is just south of it. And then if you just take this line and extend it to the east, that will make part of block number, lot number 7, excuse me. Everywhere you see kind of the red boundary, that is associated with the easement. And so there's no utilities in this part of it. We can guarantee that utilities are on 9th Street Southeast. However, here in the back, they want to vacate those easements that are on the parcels. For your reference in the packet is the preliminary and final plat that you'll see both of the easements. So they, Trade-in Development went ahead and did a petition. They submitted a petition. That petition went to Municipal Utilities Commission. It was approved at their Monday meeting and now is here today for your approval. There was a, guess kind of a discrepancy or here, as you see, the original easements on the preliminary plat is 6 feet or a 6-foot easement around all of the parcels. Utilities is requesting that they do a 10-foot easement around here. So you'll see on the preliminary plat here at the top north, on the northern part, there's 6 foot all around. And then you'll see the new plat is showing the petition after the petition is showing a 10-foot easement around. So we'll have to have a public hearing per the trade. That's why we're here today. And I'll stand for any of your questions.
Questions for Christopher? Otherwise, I need a motion to proceed with the request for vacation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to move forward and set a public hearing. Discussion. Rick?
Mr. Mayor, so where would the drainage, they would go into one of the ditches?
Yeah, so the drainage, currently they would propose to do it on site and then go into a ditch. And so,
They'd have their holding pond or detention pond,
correct.
and then go to the ditch or creek to the east along the highway, or go into the ditch that's by Walmart.
It will filter probably to the south. I can, before the public hearing, I can get the entire water management, stormwater management plan for you.
Because I know the ditch that's adjacent to Lakeland School and Valley Golf, we had cleaned it out, I don't know how many years ago. It's getting overgrown now with weeds and stuff, so the water doesn't flow real good from Nelson's International into that creek, so something must be getting filled up and it might have to be dredged.
Okay, and that's something we can check too with Public Works to see. I know that they're currently looking at a list of waterways to kind of flush out, and so if it's on the list, then we can always see that we can make it a priority too. But I'll double check and have that for you before the public hearing.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Much closer here. The ditch is right there.
Yeah, I know. But I'm not an engineer.
No,
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, Spencer. So.
all right. You ready to vote? Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Bagley,
Aye.
and Osmus.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Thank you, Christopher. Next is call for budget work session Monday, September 30th at 6 p.m. Leslie?
Good evening, Council. Yes, this is a continuation of all of our work that we've been talking about tonight and what we did last week and such. So I would like to have the council approve setting the workshop on September 30th. And we're asking that the council look at your capital improvements that we listed for you and what we went through in the 10-year capital plan. Have that information to, what your suggestions, thoughts are by September 16th. And then on the 30th, we will review that. We'll review the capital improvement plan again, along with the budget. And we'll continue that discussion. And then, if necessary, we would have another work session on October 18th at 6 o'clock. Both these meetings would be scheduled at the Willmar Auditorium, Municipal Auditorium.
All right,
There's a
Tom,
difference.
There is a difference.
I'd like to see it, us getting back to 6:30 now, because we're getting my busy time where it's gonna be tough for me to make it at 6.
Council.
doesn't make a difference to me. Julie?
I won't be available on the 30th, but I think I'll email out all of my line by line suggestions.
We don't have a motion yet.
What was the other date you suggested?
October 18th would be the next date following that.
October 18th. Is that a Friday? Am I right?
No, it should be a Monday.
No,
No, it should be that Monday.
14th. It's Columbus or what is it?
It's Columbus and Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yep.
Maybe the 14th then.
Is that a holiday?
No. We have
Don't
day
know
after
Columbus.
Thanksgiving is that holiday.
Yeah, okay. And then that, we're thinking that's going to be our final?
Yes. That's what we'd like. Because November is pretty packed with a lot of other stuff.
Make the motion for the work sessions on Monday, September 30th, and if necessary, Monday, October 14th, both at 6:30.
Yes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
And Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you, Council.
That motion passes. Thank you. Community pride. Mike, you have something?
Yeah, I'd just like to bring up a good friend and a person I had the pleasure of working with for quite a while, passed away last week, and that'd be our former sheriff, Larry Kleinhausen. And I just wanted to say thank you to him and thank you to his family for all the time that they gave us with him. I had some amazing conversations when I'd walk in at 5:30 in the morning and there sits Larry in his office. And I was coming back from working Deershiners, and him and I would sit down and have some great discussions, and I'll never forget that. He was just an amazing guy.
Yes, he was. Anything else?
Sure. I would just like to announce that on the Destination Playground, the pickets are available for sale. You can go on the community center site or Community Foundation, where they have a Facebook page of the Destination Playground to purchase a picket. I believe it's $75. And then they're looking for volunteers for September 9th through the 13th for people to help repaint some of the playground equipment out there and repair the flooring. So if you also go to that site, you can sign up to volunteer for any of those days.
All right. Thank you, Julie.
I do have a question on that. I was on the site. Maybe Rob will know. Are they only working on things from like 9 to 5? There's no evening work sessions?
I believe it's on.
Okay. But there's a lot of openings left. Sign up to volunteer.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.